Power is being transformed in the UK to get to net zero. Fossil fuels largely consigned to history. The UK is the biggest importer in the world of biomass, or wood pellets. But in this critical year to stop the clock on a climate disaster, burning wood for energy is facing fresh scrutiny, along with the £1 billion the government pays to subsidise it. Trees play an important part in helping to tackle climate change. They naturally soak up carbon, but the European Union is currently reviewing its policies around the burning of wood to generate energy. And there are calls for other countries, including the UK, to do the same. Jean-Pascal Van Ypersele was vice chairman of the IPCC, the United Nations body which assesses the science on climate change.
We are really creating a debt, a big carbon debt by burning today those pellets, that wood in power plants, because we release the CO2 now, hoping that future wood will absorb CO2 in the future.
Jean-Pascal is one of 500 scientists who recently wrote to world leaders calling for biomass not to be classed as carbon neutral. They said, "We urge you not to undermine both climate goals and the world's biodiversity by shifting from burning fossil fuels to burning trees to generate energy. To meet future net zero emission goals, your governments should work to preserve and restore forests and not to burn them." Last year in the UK, biomass powered 6.5% of the national grid. Data shared with Sky News from the think tank Ember calculated that 2 UK power stations got just over £1 billion in subsidies and were excused from paying carbon taxes totalling over £300 million.
To subsidise an activity that has negative consequences for climate and the environment is totally contradictory with the goals of the Paris Agreement and the goals of the conference due to take place in Glasgow at the end of the year.
Drax power station in North Yorkshire sees itself as part of the climate solution, not the problem, and wants to be carbon negative by 2030. Drax survived by switching from coal to biomass. Delivered by train, almost all of its biomass is imported.
450,000 tons biomass pellet plant owned and operated by Drax in Louisiana.
Nearly 2/3 of the wood pellets used by Drax come from forests in the southern United States. Drax says it's confident more carbon is being stored than is being removed.
Whenever you remove wood from a forest, you have to account for the CO2 that you've removed. And that's the system which we work under and adhere to. So I'm aware there are calls for these systems to be looked at.
Do you accept in any way that the use of biomass is controversial?
Obviously, I'm aware that some people have concerns over biomass. What I would say is there's good biomass and bad biomass, and you have to be really clear where your biomass has come from and be able to audit every part of that supply chain.
There's no dispute that the burning of biomass emits more carbon than coal at the smokestack, but as a renewable energy source, the emissions are not included in government figures.
If you did include emissions from the burning of biomass, we'd be making much slower progress towards net zero than people tend to think. So that means having another look at the biomass, the policy framework that surrounds the biomass industry.
The Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy says subsidies are only given to biomass which complies with strict sustainability criteria, and biomass is a valuable part of the national grid. That may not satisfy environmentalists who want the government to take another look at their use of biomass in this critical year for the climate. Lisa Holland, Sky News.